My name is Lena, and a few months ago I moved into a small apartment called Apartment 307. At first, it felt like the perfect place. The rent was cheap, the building was quiet, and I needed somewhere to stay quickly. The landlord didn't ask many questions either. He just handed me the keys and told me I could move in the same day. Looking back now, that should have been my first warning. The apartment itself looked normal. A small living room, a kitchen, and a bedroom at the end of a narrow hallway. Nothing about it seemed strange. My first night there was completely normal. I unpacked some boxes, watched videos on my phone, and went to sleep without any problems. But the second night was different. I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. At first, I didn't know why. Then I looked at my phone. It was 3:07 a.m. And that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy footsteps coming from my living room. At first, I thought maybe it was someone upstairs or in another apartment. But the sound was too clear. It sounded like someone was walking across my floor. I sat up in bed and listened. My heart started beating faster. I lived alone. After a few minutes, I slowly got out of bed and opened my bedroom door. The hallway was dark. I walked into the living room, and there was no one there. But one thing was different. One of the dining chairs had moved away from the table. I tried to convince myself I had moved it earlier and forgot, but deep down, I knew I hadn't. The next night, it happened again. I woke up suddenly. I checked my phone. 3:07 a.m. And the footsteps started again. This time, they sounded even heavier, like someone pacing back and forth across my living room floor. I stayed locked in my bedroom the entire night. I didn't even open the door until the sun came up. The next day, I talked to an old man who lived down the hallway. I asked him if he had ever heard strange noises in the building. The moment I mentioned apartment 307, his face changed. He looked nervous. Then he told me something I'll never forget. Years ago, a man lived in my apartment. Neighbors used to hear him yelling late at night. They said it sounded like he was arguing with someone. But the strange thing was, he lived alone. One night, someone called the police because they heard screaming. But when the police entered the apartment, the man was gone. He had completely disappeared. No one ever saw him again. After hearing that, I started feeling really uncomfortable in my apartment. But I still wasn't completely convinced something paranormal was happening. So that night, I decided to record the living room with my phone. I placed it on the kitchen counter before going to bed. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Then suddenly, I woke up again. I didn't even need to check my phone this time. I already knew what time it was, but I checked anyway. 3:07 a.m. And the footsteps started again. I forced myself to leave my bedroom and walk into the living room. Everything looked normal at first, but then the dining chair slowly slid backwards, right in front of me, like someone invisible had just pushed it. I froze. Then the footsteps started walking toward me. They stopped right in front of me, but I couldn't see anyone. The next morning, I checked the video recording. At first, it looked normal, but when the video reached 3:07 a.m., something appeared on the screen. A man. A tall figure standing in the hallway behind me. He wasn't moving, just watching me. And the worst part? When the camera showed him standing there, I was alone in the living room. I never saw him. That was the moment I decided I had to leave. That night, I started packing my things, but before I could finish, the lights in the apartment suddenly went out. Everything went completely dark. Then the footsteps started again. Slow, heavy, coming down the hallway toward me. I turned on my phone flashlight, and for the first time, I saw him. A tall man standing in the hallway. His face looked pale. His eyes were staring directly at me. Then he whispered something. I'll never forget those words. Why are you in my apartment? I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached the street outside the building. The next morning, I came back only to collect the rest of my belongings. Then I left that place forever. Months passed. I tried my best to forget everything that happened in apartment 307. But one day, curiosity got the better of me. I looked up the building online to see if anyone else had moved into my old apartment. And someone had. A new tenant had moved in just a few weeks earlier. When I saw that, I felt this strange feeling in my stomach. Then, a few days later, I saw something that made my heart drop. A news report. The new tenant of apartment 307 had disappeared. No sign of forced entry. No evidence of what happened. Just gone. Exactly like the man who lived there before. When investigators searched the apartment, they found something strange on the wall. Something that definitely wasn't there when I lived there. 3 words scratched into the paint. Still my apartment. And according to people who still live in that building, every night at 3:07 a.m., they still hear footsteps inside apartment 307. Like someone is still living there, waiting for the next person to move in.